And time for my first guest today. That's Elaine Canning. She's the director of the Dylan Thomas Prize. Elaine, thanks for your company today.
Thank you very much for having me, Wyn.
It was on March the 20th this year that the shortlist was announced for the Dylan Thomas Prize this year. It must have been a hard decision by judges to be done, yeah?
It's a very difficult job for the judges, yes. I mean, the long list of 12 books was absolutely fantastic. So I don't envy them having to whittle down 12 to 6.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, I mean, do you know how they sort of do that sort of thing? Do they have a book each or 2 books each? How does that work? Do you know?
Oh, so the judges will all read the 12 books, and it goes through a very rigorous process, a very rigorous discussion and voting process for them to reach their final 6. But it's always a challenge and never ever an easy job for them. Right,
okay. So entries this year came from UK, Palestine, India, Netherlands and Ireland. How do you enter a competition like that?
So the entries for the Dylan Thomas Prize open in September every year, and the entries are submitted by the publishers of authors. So they aren't submitted by the authors themselves. So the publishers, as a team, will decide which books they're putting forward for different literary prizes. As you know, there are many literary prizes across not just the UK, but internationally. And so it's a decision that is made by the publishing team as to which books will be put forward for different prizes. So in the case of our prize, the Swansea University Dylan Thomas Prize, it's a prize which is for young writers aged 39 and under. And entries are submitted from English-speaking territories across the world. Entries need to be written originally in English. And we accept entries across all literary forms, so short stories, novels, poetry, etc., because the prize celebrates the vast creativity and array of work that Dylan Thomas wrote. And of course, as you know, when Dylan Thomas died at the age of 39, so the prize is for writers 39 and under, in order to celebrate Dylan's 39 years of creativity and talent.
And that prize is £20,000, isn't it, to win the competition, yeah?
It is. It's £20,000, which is makes a difference to young writers. You know, what they tell us, what our previous winners tell us, is primarily it's a prize that allows them space. It allows them space away from the day job. It allows them space to actually think creatively and to have time out to be able to write their next book. So in some cases, our winners, it's been their first book, it's their debut book. It's not always their debut book, but they are at early stages of their career, and it gives them some space to be able to have some time to get that next book out into the world.
How many debut authors have you got this time then?
Sorry, could you repeat that one?
I said, how many debut authors have you got this time?
On the shortlist?
Yeah, on shortlist, yeah. On
the shortlist, let me think. So on our shortlist, we have Freddie Lennon with Glorious Exploits, his debut novel. The Sea of Keep by Yael Vanderwooden is also a debut. And The Coin by Yasmin Zahar, a Palestinian writer. So we've got 3 debuts on there.
Right. And there's 8 novels, 2 short stories and 2 poetry collections this year, isn't it, on the shortlist?
That was on the long list. So on the long list, yeah. So long list, we had 8 novels, 2 short story collections and 2 poetry collections. And now on the short list, we have 4 novels, 1 short story collection, 1 poetry collection.
Right. Obviously, saying 8 novels would take you over the 6 novels that we've already got for the short list. Yeah, okay, sorry about that.
That's okay.
So obviously then you have to be a published author then to be put into the prize interview. It's not, if you're a debut novelist, you have to be a published debut novelist then.
Absolutely, yes. So the work has to be commercially published for the first time within the time scale, within the window, the parameters of each year. So for example, for the 2025 prize, which is the prize that we're working on now, we announced the winner on the 15th of May. Mm-hmm. So all of the entries that have come in for the 2025 prize, all will have been published in the window of the calendar year 2024. So from the 1st of January until 31st of December 2024. And again, then when we open for entries in September for the 2026 prize, the works must be commercially published between the 1st of January, 31st of December this year. So it's a full calendar year in advance of the announcement of the winner.
So I know you're not a judge, but what are the judges looking for, would you say?
So the judges are looking for raw creative talent. They're looking for literary excellence. They're looking for a writer who is exciting, who's doing something really innovative. Someone who isn't afraid to push boundaries, someone who isn't afraid of the authenticity of their own voice, and the myriad ways in which a writer can express that, which is why the shortlist this year, and every year, I mean, the shortlist is always so exciting because we always have very, very different books on there. And if you have a look at the shortlist this year, you know that really does exemplify that. These are writers who are really experimenting and profiling and showcasing their originality and their talent. And it's just wonderful to see them being celebrated on a list like this.
So I know you'd mentioned a couple of authors there, but who are the entries now in the shortlist? Can you tell us who the books are and the names, please?
Yeah, absolutely. So on the shortlist we have Rapture's Road by Sean Hewitt. Rapture's Road is a beautiful poetry collection. It deals with the themes of love and grief in a beautiful tremulous nightscape. It's a collection about love and loss. It is beautifully written. It's just magic on the page. We also have Glorious Exploits by Ferdia Lennon, which is a terrific debut novel. So original in that it combines a very, very ambitious voice in contemporary fiction. And it's set in ancient Sicily, but it's got this beautiful contemporary Irish voice in it. So it's a very fresh sort of look at the historical novel. It's very energetic. It's very inventive. It's a wonderful book. We also have The Sea of Keep by Yael van der Weyden, which is, as I mentioned, is also a debut novel. Beautifully plotted novel set 15 years after World War II in the Netherlands. It's a historical novel, but it feels very contemporary in terms of the things it deals with, things that are of central concern to us now, things of power, autonomy, desire. The prose is beautiful, and it's also a very unique take on a relationship between two women within this particular historical context. We also have L.A. Williams, a short story writer, with Moderate to Poor, Occasionally Good. This is a collection of very original short stories which are about the nature of relationships. L.A. is a real wordsmith. She has got this incredible ability with words in terms of how they can convey and withhold meaning. And then we have The Coin by Yasmin Zahar. Yasmin Zahar is a Palestinian writer. This is a debut novel as well, with a terrific first-person narrator. She's absolutely intriguing, a little bit terrifying, a little bit obsessive, a little bit infuriating. She is a wonderful. And this is a novel which is about a young Palestinian woman in New York City working in a middle school, and it's all about her trying to find herself and her place in the world. It's about class, it's about ambition and desire, lots of interconnected themes. And finally we have I Will Crash by Rebecca Watson. This is Rebecca's second book. It is beautiful. For those who have read Little Scratch, you're in for a huge surprise here. This is another gorgeous book, very experimental, very unique, looking at the themes of trauma and grief and family discord. It's just masterful and it's immersive, and being so immersive, it just draws the reader straight into the heart of the story, which is incredibly unsettling. So they are just 6 incredibly brilliant books. And as I said, we're so proud to have them all on the shortlist this year.
So while you're on list, then, Elaine, can you tell me who the judges are this year, please? Yeah,
absolutely. So chairing the judging panel this year is Namita Gokhale. So Namita Gokhale is the co-director and co-founder of the magnificent Jaipur Literature Festival. which is classified as the greatest literary carnival in the world. Namita is also a fantastic writer herself of fiction and non-fiction, and is a huge supporter and campaigner of young writers. So we're delighted that she's chair of the jury again this year. Also on the judging panel, we have Max Liu, who is a literary critic, a wonderful literary critic, writes for various broadsheets and so on. And he is a wonderful asset to the panel. We also have Mary Jean Chan, who is a fantastic poet. Mary Jean Chan also is a former shortlisted author for the poet, I should say, for the Dylan Thomas Prize. We have Jan Carson, who is from Belfast, a fantastic writer of novels and short stories. Jan won the European Prize for Literature for her novel The Far Starters a few years back. And we also have Professor Daniel Williams. Professor Daniel Williams is based at Swansea University. He is a cultural historian and critic. And just fantastic to have Daniel on the panel as well.
Okay, that sounds great. Yeah, and it's all going to be decided on May the 15th and who is actually the winner.
That's right.
A little bit about yourself, Elaine. How long have you been the director of the Dylan Thomas Prize and how did it happen?
So I've been director of the prize since 2014, so 11 years now.
Wow.
So the prize is, back in 2014, the prize partnered. So the prize had its own independent charitable status up until that point. And the prize then formed a partnership and official collaboration with Swansea University. And it was at that point that I became involved in leading and directing the prize, which has been a huge honour for me. This is a literary prize which makes a huge difference to writers' lives, but it's also something that we are very proud of in Swansea, because it is a prize which showcases Swansea and Wales to the world, but also a prize which brings writers from across the world to Swansea to engage with our community, with our students and with young people in schools. So we also have got an educational programme called Dylan Ed, which is the educational arm of the prize. And as you know, when I've been busy in schools the last 3 weeks with Dylan Ed, working on a brilliant project with Amnesty International UK called Words That Burn. That's just one of our projects, which is about human rights and poetry, and it's about young people having their voices as change makers. So again, incredibly important, I think, within the current context of, the world as it is right now.
Marvellous stuff. Marvellous. Thanks so much for joining me today. Thanks for being my guest. It's been a delight to speak to you. And good luck with the judging and everything else going to go on between now and May. Thank you much indeed.
Thanks very much, Wyn. Thank you.